One scene yesterday in Austin, Texas. New NIL deals. Michael Taff and a little guy that we like to call Isaiah Bond, who you know how I feel about the season he'll have, less than 1,000 in receiving yards at Texas this year.
Okay.
Got a Lamborghini deal. There's Isaiah at the bottom with his white and black Lamborghini.
How did we get to the point where Lamborghini was the deal? I mean, we accelerated quickly there, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, the Dodge Charger worked fine when it was under the table.
Yeah.
But now that's above board. We can't just roll around.
I mean, we went from a Dodge Charger to a Lambo. There are a lot of stops in between there.
Yeah. I must say, I do like Isaiah's Lamborghini probably better than Taft's at the top.
Well,
there.
Taft looks like he's about to deploy, and he's got some sort of special new Army deal.
Yeah.
I like Isaiah Bonds better. I would agree with you.
Yeah, but in the old days, if you were driving through a rival's town, you'd roll through the football complex when practice was going on and check out the cars and say, I wonder if that guy is really getting just his room and board. Clint Lamb joins us, Brownie. Let's talk to him about the Tuscaloosa parking lot. What's in the Tuscaloosa parking lot these days?
Some new cars. At Clint R. Lamb on Twitter is where you follow him. He was at Bama practice yesterday. Welcome in, Clint. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, fellas. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Thanks a lot.
What kind of car are you in these days, Clint?
He's got his Lambo. He's got a Lambo deal.
Yeah, a little bit short of that. Actually, just got a new 4Runner, and I love it. I had an FJ Cruiser in high school that I loved. They don't make those anymore, so I kind of had to pivot. But I don't like the gas mileage as much, to be honest with you guys. But it's a good ride.
4Runners are good. I've had 4Runners.
Yeah.
They work fine.
I just
keep them a long time if you want to.
I just jumped into a Ford, an F-150, my friend. So
right. That's one of those trucks. Every time I see one in a parking lot, I got to point it out because it is probably the best looking truck on the market, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, we have no endorsement deal. You don't have to really jump into it. If you don't like it, you can say something.
I like the way Clint played the game, though.
Yeah. I mean, if Jim's mentioned it, it must be.
That's what I could be honest about.
Yeah. If you hate him, go ahead. It's no endorsement there.
So Clint, you were in practice yesterday, and these first couple of practices, you saw a lot of Nick Saban practices. So when you go to these first couple of Alabama practices, just how different is it from a Nick Saban practice?
It's definitely different with the music. That's something that we kind of got used to in the spring, though. I think, the vibe of the practice, right? I mean, it feels like there's a little bit more. I'm not saying that there wasn't energy at Nick Saban practices, but I feel like guys are having a little bit more fun, but it's also, laser focused. And I think that that's a really good combination. Guys can be a little bit more relaxed. If you think about the last couple of years, Nick Saban talked a lot about the anxiety of certain guys and just how that kind of affected the team. With this group, I think they're a little bit more relaxed. They're having fun with it, and I think that's going to make a big difference. But just the overall talent, you go around to the different position groups, kind of looking at different guys, and it's evident that it's still one of the most talented rosters in all of college football. It's a matter of where they, how do they come together in certain places and how that affects things on Saturday. But it's going to be a very good football team.
Listen, EG asked a question in the group of Kane Womack about pressure of the quarterback and off the edge. I'll ask you, replacing the likes of Dallas Turner and the tradition that you've had coming off the edge, Will Anderson, all those guys in recent Alabama history, or even back to I'm a kid. I mean, Derek Thomas, you can go all the way back. What do you see off the edge from Alabama this year? Do they have the next generation of guy that can step up?
Well, they have a ton of options, and I think that's the number one thing. Like, Womack's answer, whether he was talking about Bandit or Wolf, he listed, it was almost the entire depth chart at both positions. And I think that that's not just him naming guys to name guys. I think they have a lot of quality bodies out there, and it's just determining who's going to end up being the starters, what's the rotation going to look like. But a player that we've heard a lot of really good things about is Quay Russo, and just being a former 5-star player, kind of, a little bit of the lack of length, I think, showed up a little bit on film and on his high school film at times, but he compensates for it because he's just such a relentless, powerful player who has elite closing speed and a great motor. Really fun to watch. That's a guy who a lot of us at this point are assuming he's going to take a step forward. Will he end up being the starter? Probably not. I think Quandarius Robinson or Keanu Coote will probably lead the way there. They're the veterans. But, having a rotation, I'll be curious to see how much they rotate, because last year, the last couple of years, they were able to get three guys on the field, Will Anderson, Chris Braswell, and Dallas Turner. Last year, it was mostly just the Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell show. And so they limited that rotation. Now you have the Bandit playing one of your edges pretty much, on every down. That's going to make, those typical edges that we've seen in the past, it's going to cut down on their snaps a little bit. And so I'll be curious to see what the rotation looks like, but it's a high upside group. And the one question mark that I have about it is there's nobody that's established. They've got experience and they've got a lot of young talent, but at this point, there's no one that you look at if you're an offensive coordinator and you're terrified of them, like you were with Dallas Turner and even Chris Braswell last year. So really, it's just about establishing those guys. But once they can do that, I think they got some effective interior pass rushers, and I certainly think they got a lot of bodies out there on the edge as well.
Clint Lamb is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. At Clint R. Lamb on Twitter is where you find him. In that same press availability, media availability, Kane Womack said Keon Saab, I'm going to quote it here, is a very special talent. You're limited in what you can see, but from what you saw and what you gather from the sources you talk to, why is Kane Womack saying that? What has Saab done that has impressed him so much?
Well, I just think his ability to pick up on the terminology, the fact that he's a student of the game. And I think if you're going to play safety, that needs to be a primary requirement in order to be, at the top of your game. A guy like Malachi Moore, it's a new system compared to what he had under Nick Saban. It's a different position. He's been making some transitions, but, he's a guy that's been around for a while. Saab was kind of, a newcomer, and he's looking to replace or be the replacement for Caleb Downs, who, in my opinion, even though he was at Alabama for just 1 year, one of the best safeties to ever come through Tuscaloosa. So that's a big shoes to fill, but I think he's done an excellent job of that. He can play closer to the line of scrimmage. He's extremely physical. He has a little bit of range. He's probably going to be playing that rover position, not that, single high deep safety like Malachi Moore's going to be doing. But when you look in Kane Womack's defense, the last couple of years, their rover at South Alabama last year led the team in interceptions with 4. The year before, it was the Husky, Yam Banks. He led the team with 6. And so those guys those safety hybrids that can kind of play closer to the line of scrimmage, they've typically seen a lot of opportunities in Kane Womack's defense. And I think that Saab's definitely got the potential to take advantage of that. And if that ends up happening, I think that Malachi Moore and him can, emerge as probably one of, if not the best safety tandems in all of college football.
Not a newcomer, not a transfer from Washington or a first-time recruit or a portal guy. Somebody was in that Alabama wide receiving room last year that benefited the most from the change of offense of Kalen DeBoer and his system, Nick Sheridan coming in to call plays. Which one of the guys that was in the Bama receiving room last year benefited the most from the change, you think?
I would have said Jalen Hill, just because I think his ability to win vertically downfield, that's something that you see with the fact that, Kalen DeBoer and company like to press the ball vertically. He's got that. And that's one of the questions that I have about this wide receiver room in general. You got to get a lot of guys that can separate when at the second and third or the first, second, or third level. But when you need a ball winner, I know Alabama fans probably aren't going to like the comparison, but when you need a Seth Williams to bail out Bo Nix like they had in 2019 and 2020, do you have that guy? I've actually told a lot of people I feel like that the loss of Amari DeBlock is going to be a much bigger impact on Alabama's offense than Isaiah Bond.
Agreed.
Because of what he provided for that offense. You got guys that can replace what Isaiah Bond did for your offense. You really can. I'm not saying they're all going to be day one talents like he is necessarily, but those elements, they have guys. But, I think that Kendrick Law and just the fact that he provides a lot of that as far as his versatility. One thing I'll give Kalen DeBoer and the rest of that coaching staff a lot of credit for is their ability to build the offense around the talent that they have. And a guy like Kendrick Law being kind of this unicorn where he's not like super long, but he's got a great build. He's extremely strong, extremely powerful, but he's also got elite top end speed. You can do a lot of different things with him as far as lining him up inline, slot, putting him on the outside, let him win vertically. And so I really think he's going to benefit from this Kalen DeBoer offense. Now, granted, one thing we haven't seen from him up to this point is, can he be a volume guy? We didn't really see it a ton in high school, and we haven't seen it, at Alabama. So can he do that aspect of it? And if he can, I think he's going to end up being a fantastic player. But then you've got the young guys like Ryan Williams and Caleb Odom. Odom can certainly fill that size void. But the reason I think Amari DeBlock's such a big loss is Odom's a freshman and you don't know what you're going to get out of him compared to Black, who is going to be a third-year player and really is a guy you can kind of move around and do different stuff with as well. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Alabama wide receiver room, and I think that they got a lot of talent. It runs deep, and I think Kalen DeBoer knows how to use them.
This is a horribly unfair question to ask 2 days into camp, but it is not going to stop me from asking it. If Clint Lamb took a stab at the starting receiver rotation right now, what would you do?
Okay, I definitely would go Jeremy Bernard.
Okay.
You know, I kind of project him as the X. I think he's going to be the focal point or one of the focal points of the offense. I think Kendrick Law and what he provides, whether it be his own skill set or what he can do for others, I think he's going to certainly be involved. You know, Kobe Prentice is that slot guy, and he's been in, a huge part of the offense the last couple of years. I think he continues to have a major role. But I think we're not talking enough about Ron Williams. That's a guy early on. I mean, he's supposed to be going into a senior year of high school. And how ready do you really think that he is to make a major impact from day one, considering he's a year younger than most of the freshmen that get there? But the more we've heard from guys around the Alabama camp, he's a special talent, and I think he ends up being involved a little bit earlier than I was originally anticipating. And if he can do that and he continues to build and get more comfortable on this level, what can he be by the end of the year? So while I wouldn't put him in the starting lineup right now, I do think he's going to be involved. I think the first couple of weeks of the season is a great opportunity to get him some good looks and get him comfortable playing on this level. And then from there, who knows where it can go. He can end up being one of the focal points of the offense, but they've been very impressed with him so far in Tuscaloosa.
So Clint Lamb has covered Alabama for quite a while, most recently with On3 Sports and Bama Online. They do tremendous work there. You guys know we're fans of On3. Bama Online has done great work for years. But Clint has recently left Bama Online, and many of you probably are like, oh, crap, where do I get Clint Lamb content now? You'll know that next week, won't you, Clint? You'll know it, and everybody else will know it. Well, actually, you already know it, but everyone else will know it next week.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of a surprise coming, and I'm looking forward to it. One thing, by this point, I've covered Alabama for such a long time. I got a little too much Bama in me at this point to be covering anybody else. So I'm excited to start this next adventure.
Yeah, a new adventure for Clint Lamb.
You got a new job? New car, new job.
That's right.
It's a different world. Ever since I got married, all these good things start happening. It's incredible how that happens.
Oh,
Wow.
look at that. Yeah.
New job, new girl, new car.
I probably should have listed the wife first.
Yeah, probably so. But that's okay. I set you up for the job. So major announcement next week. Clint will be part of that, and we'll tell you what that is next week. Clint, have a great weekend, man. We appreciate the time as always.
Absolutely, fellas. Good talking to you guys.
All right, buddy. Take care. Clint with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. That is going to be, you'll hear that announcement with us next week.